The National Review Board was established by the United States Conference of Bishops in 2002. Its purpose is to advise the bishops in preventing the abuse of minors. I spoke with their chairman about what recommendations I'll be presenting to the U.S. bishops this week. What have you discovered in the past years, the cause and the context of the crisis of sexual abuse in the church?
The cause and context study really gave an understanding as to why the church experienced what it did over the course of several decades. To be able to identify the causes that lead to sexual abuse, the behavior patterns, that was one aspect of it, so education. Another aspect was formation of deacons and seminarians for the priesthood, and to make sure that in the formation process that there is due attention given to this whole question of sexual abuse and what one needs to look for and how to deal with the stressors that clergy feel. So there's the question of formation. There's also the question of how to deal and respond to the question of sexual abuse. And when sexual abuse allegations come forward, what is the response that the church ought to have, and how does that response deal really with the victim himself or herself? The victims need to enter a period of healing and reconciliation, that the church needs to pastorally respond to the victims. In the past, the response was always on a legal basis and not really concerned with the experience of the victim himself or herself, how this affected the life of the victim and the victim's families. And that has all shifted. So there's a much more pastoral response now to the victim. There's a sense on the part of the church, whether it comes from the bishop himself or the local parish in which the abuse took place, of really embracing the victim and trying to help the victim recover from this terrible crime and this terrible experience that he or she had.
The National Review Board will also be presenting recommendations to the bishops on how to increase the effectiveness of the diocesan review boards that handle allegations of sexual abuse. Overall, in the 13 years since the U.S. bishops adopted the Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People, Dr. Cesareo says the church has made great progress.
We can be, as a church, a leader in how society ought to deal with this issue, because we know that this is not a Catholic issue, that this is an issue that permeates society across institutions. It occurs in families, it occurs in other religious denominations. And so we as a church in the last 13 years have taken this so seriously and have made significant strides. That the number of allegations has decreased significantly. And when we look at the statistics, that the allegations that are still coming forward are historical allegations, they're allegations that have occurred 20, 30, 40 years ago, and that the allegations that are coming forward now by current minors are in the single digits. Having said that, even one credible allegation of a current minor is one too many. And that's why it's so important for the church to remain diligent, for the church to continue to exhibit courage and leadership on this issue. And the bishops have, the vast majority of the bishops have done so, and we are a much safer place in the church for our children now than we were back in 2002.
Reporting for Currents, I'm Konrad Aderer.